Welcome back to Pretty Culture 101. I am Tanya, the founder of NiaZamar and your wellness educator. So today on Pretty Culture 101, we're going to be talking about this idea of respectability. I brought it up in our last series a little bit. We touched on it around this concept of respectability, more so in relation to Blackness. But I wanted to talk about respectability today in relation to gender and sexuality, because I feel like we can touch on this in so many different ways, but this is just one of them. So when it comes to this concept of respectability, I want to really distinguish how respectability is different from having a sense of respect for self, right? Because that's how it's positioned. A lot of times people are like, people want us to think that being respectable is about how we respect ourselves and how we foresee our self-worth, or how we position our own self-worth and our self-esteem and our own confidence. And most times it's not about that at all. The ways that respectability is often positioned, it's about how other people see us, how other people are positioning us within their mind, how other people decide if we are valuable, how other people decide where to position us as citizens, so to speak, within society. And the onus is continually on others to decide how valuable we are and how they should treat us based on this idea of being a respectable person. And people say you should have some self-respect. It's never really about how you respect yourself as much as it is about how they respect you. So I think it's worth talking about, because this idea of having self-respect is not usually used to talk about males and masculine people as much as used to talk about women and feminine people. This idea of having self-respect and how it has become a divisive term to talk about how we want women to act, right? And we talk about that a little bit when this idea of beauty, how beauty is not really about this objective and universal standard of beauty as much as it is about subscribing behaviors and then us using those behaviors as an understanding that if you do these things, you'll be closer to our standards of beauty. And if you're closer to our standards of beauty, then you are going to be more respectable. And it could be anything, right? And it changes. It's so, again, we talked about this in the Pretty Privileged video, that this is so subjective and fluctuating, right? So someone might think that a model is not respectable, and someone else might be like, oh, that's a totally respectable choice or career, right? Someone thinks that being a housewife is the most respectable thing that you can do because you're taking care of children and you're like bringing life and all these things. And other people be like, oh, that's not a respectable thing. It's more respectable for you to have your own money, so to speak. So all these things are thrown at us, particularly as women and feminine people, to think that we need to subscribe to and that we need to uphold other people's ideas of what makes us respectable. And why I say it's divisive is because it puts us in a situation where it's either you're this or you're that. And it just depends on the situation, of course, but we're constantly being positioned as either respectable or not respectable, and then needing to jump through hurdles and hoops to be seen as people who are worthy of respect within our societies. And the ways in which that intersects with patriarchy is often how we have experiences of misogyny and misogyny noir that is specifically used to control women and femme-identified people, so that we are seeking this approval. We're seeking the approval of others to affirm our being and to tell us that we're good. We're not like the rest, you know. And that's a lot of times how it's positioned, is like, oh, you're not like the other ones. And I think that's why so many of the movements that we start are so important. I'm actually filming this, and it's International Women's Day today. It's not going to be posted yet, but I'm filming it today on International Women's Day. And I think that it's important that we have these movements, whether it be IWD or things like the Slut Walk. There's just so many different ways that we get together. Women's March, there's so many different ways we get together. And I think that it's important. And we can talk all day about different types of feminism and womanism and what ways we do this, but I think what we can all agree upon is that it's necessary. My friends are dudes because that means that, like, I sit on a different level with them. And I mean, I think that like we've all met somebody like that or been that person, and it speaks to healing that we have to do because of the ways that we're taught that our womanness and our feminineness is lesser than, and therefore we have to go out and continue to seek outside approval and affirmation. And this is where respectability comes from. I respect myself and I do things that allow me to respect myself. For me, self-respect is about self-love, right? We talk about this a lot here. Like, how do we heal from these things? And outside of these movements that we create, for me, it's about self-love. So like me loving myself is the self-respect. Me loving myself and having boundaries, me loving myself and continuing to show up for myself is self-respect. And that to me shows more of my self-respect, the boundaries I have, the way I navigate life, than what pictures I post or how I wear my hair or what clothes I wear or what kind of job I don't do. That stuff is not where I get my self-respect from. That's the lie that we're often told, is that that's where we should be finding our self-respect from. And it's like, nah, bro. I get my self-respect from how I love me. That's what matters most. So I think I just wanted to bring it up today because I think it's really important that we start to have some of these conversations so we can pull it apart and we won't be digesting these lies that are told to us about who we think that we should be in order to be worthy of. Because you know what? You're worthy all by yourself. And a big part of the issue I have with this idea of respectability or self-respect or self-worth that is positioned and put on us is that it causes so much impacts to our mental health and to our sense of self and our self-worth, and it gives us anxiety because then we're constantly jumping through these hurdles and constantly trying to figure out how we can show up as the type of woman that anybody wants us to be in any given moment. And I know I've done it. I know that I will be like, oh, I'm going to this kind of event, so I gotta wear my hair like this, or I gotta put on a skirt like that, or I gotta make sure my skirt is long enough, or I gotta like, we all do it, right? And we do it because we're human and we want to be affirmed and we want to be a part of and we want to be seen. So we do the things that will allow us to be seen. But think about the impact that has overall if we start to create these hierarchies of which one of us are worthy of respect, which one of us are not. And it's something I deal with in terms of just being a person who's very feminine and wears makeup and heels and so on and so forth, skirts, all of that, is that sometimes I have this experience where people don't actually think that I'm brilliant and get shooketh that I am because of my aesthetic, because they think that they don't associate femininity and beauty and makeup as attributes of a woman who is also well-read and articulate and clear on her boundaries and who she is as a person. And I've in the past I was dating someone that told me, he's like, oh, when I first met you, like I thought that you was just like, you know, basically saying I was vain, right? Like I thought I was all that or whatever, and that he heard me speak on a panel, which shifted his perspective of me, which is why he asked me out. I didn't notice when I agreed to this date, y'all. We have to almost fight, not almost, we do. We have to fight. We have to prove. We have to show that we are worthy of, and we shouldn't have to. Like, it doesn't matter what people wear or how they do their hair or their makeup and how feminine or non-feminine they are. Or, again, as I said, if they work from home or they have children, stay-at-home mother, whatever it is. Like, there's so many things. Whether they cuss or don't cuss. Like, there's so many things. None of it matters at the end of the day. And, I mean, we can't control other people, so, like, we can give up on that now. But what I hope to leave y'all with today is just a clarity that your self-respect cannot be offered to you or affirmed in you from anyone outside of you. It cannot be. When it comes to our ideas of who is beautiful and who is not beautiful, let us not judge it on outside factors and let it be an internal process that we all decide for ourselves of what beauty, worthiness, respect is for us, and let us just offer that to ourselves as a gift just for being here. Just cause we out here surviving this, all this. Anywho, thanks y'all. So I will see you in the next video. I hope you're enjoying this series. I'm trying to like keep it fresh, so we're talking a little bit about all the different ways that beauty and identity show up in our life. Anywho, love y'all. Thanks for watching. Peace.